Hi everyone, thanks for joining my channel. I'm going to make a skeleton tonight on a really cool background. It's got a lot of interference colors in it. Something that I tried recently and it worked out really nicely, so I wanted to try it again. So this is a 12 by 12 inch gallery wrapped level 2 canvas. Artist lot, and that is the painting that I made the first time. I really like it. It's got violet on it and silver and some interference pink. And then what I'm going to making tonight will have interference green, or I'm sorry, interference turquoise, interference indigo, and interference pink. I'm just taping off the back of the canvas in case any of the paint does end up on the wrong side of the canvas so that it doesn't mess anything up. These are cups that I'm going to set the canvas on just to keep it up off of the table. Since I'm not using fluid paint, I'm using paint from the bottle. That's Amsterdam's OXIDE black. But since I'm not using fluid paint, I don't need to worry about the canvas being level as much. So I've got a big paintbrush and some water, a couple of paper towels so I can dry off my paintbrush in a few minutes and clean it between colors. Just drying my brush off a little bit. You don't want too much moisture on it. Getting the rest of the paint out of the lid from the bottle. And a little bit more from the bottle. I'm just going to brush all of that all over the canvas. That's my background. I want the base to be black and everything to go on top of that. Since we're using interference colors, black is really the best color to start with. They show up the best on that one. There's always something on my canvas. Make sure I got my edges really well. In between layers, I am spritzing the canvas with a little bit of distilled water just to make it easier to blend the colors. So this is silver. It's Master's Touch. This is also Master's Touch Violet. And it's a translucent color, so it's going to blend with the silver and just leave a nice shimmery purple on the background. Crisscrossing because the idea is to just have sort of chaos in the background. It looks like mummy wrappings. You'll see what I mean when we get done with the skull. It kind of looks like it's wrapped in mummy wrappings at the end of all this. I'm wiping my brush off and putting a little more silver down because it wasn't shimmery enough for me. I wanted it brighter in the middle because that's where the skull will be. All of our interference colors are going to end up going over these. You'll see that in a little while. So we need silver in the middle to help them pop a little more too. So there it is, finished and wet. It just kind of looks gray, but there's a lot of violet in there and silver. You can kind of see the violet there. Okay, so now it's dry. I'm gonna give it a little wipe with a paper towel to get rid of any dust bunnies. We're getting ready to paint on it again. So that says Interference Pink Enamel, and I use Behr 8300 Deep Base Enamel. That's Let's Resin, Interference Pink Mica Powder, Interference Violet. But I use the Behr 8300 Deep Base Interior Exterior High Gloss Enamel, and I add that to Liquitex Gloss Varnish, and then I mix my powders in. I mix the powders in with the Gloss Varnish first, the Liquitex Varnish, because it's more liquidy. So I melt my powders in there, and then I mix them in. That's Interference Turquoise. And then I mix them in with the enamel, and then I have my Interference enamel. So I don't know if I said, but there's an Interference Indigo, Interference Pink, and an Interference Turquoise, and we're going to be using all three of them. The pink tends to look more orange to me, so I thought it would be good for Halloween colors. I wet my brush a little bit, but it wasn't too wet. I'm going to start with the turquoise. You can see it looks white in the cup, but when it goes on the canvas, you can really see the green. It still looks white here, but when it dries and when you are on my side, I can definitely see the green. You can see a little bit of it here, I guess. It sort of changes the tone of everything underneath it. I'm doing the same pattern that I did with the black, silver, and violet. Just trying to make a crisscross pattern so that it looks sort of like wrappings. Cleaned my brush again. This time I'm going to do Interference Pink, which actually looks orange to me, but sure, it's pink. Trying to go in new spots where I don't have the green down, the turquoise, so that the turquoise doesn't get washed out by the Interference Pink. I want it to show through behind the indigo underneath in front of the pink also. I want you to be able to see all of the colors at the end. Putting a little on the sides just to make sure that it looks like the wrappings go over the edge of the canvas. Clean my brush again. Interference Indigo. So we started with turquoise and then we put down Interference Pink, and this is Interference Indigo. And all these colors together at the end look really cool on top of the silver and violet. I decided to do the colors with the indigo, the corners, sorry, the indigo first to see just what kind of effect it would have. And I do like indigo, so there's quite a bit of it on here. Trying to go in a haphazard pattern. So we let that dry. Now that everything's dry, you can see it kind of looks clear. On the edges, you can see the indigo and a little bit of the pink and some of the green. This is my stencil that I drew and cut out. It's just a little skull stencil. I found a drawing online and just drew it from that and then cut it out. And I'm trying to find the right position for it. You want to make sure that you don't have dark spots in the middle of your eyes or your nose. So you want those to be filled in with all the interference colors and the silver in the background so that they pop up against everything else. So I like this spot, so I'm going to take a little bit of painter's tape and tape the stencil down at the top over the vinyl. It's a vinyl stencil that I just bought at the Dollar Tree that has a really cool back on it that you can peel off, and it's sticky and it's reusable. This is the second time I've used this one, so I don't know how many times you can reuse it, but it's so cheap that you can just go buy some more. They're like $1.25 each, and I think it was 4 feet by 12 inches. Just peel the back off and save it because we're going to put this back on it. It's sticky on the back and it will stick to your paint. That helps hold it in place, but we're going to do something else to make sure it stays in place and to make sure our lines are super clean. So there's that part. There's the skull. And do the jawbone. And it's the same thing, just sticky. I do have little holes in the middle of my stencils so that when I'm done painting over them, I can pull them up easily without having to tear the stencil or scrape the painting. You'll see what I mean at the end of this. So this is Golden's Heavy Gel Gloss Medium, and I'm going to use that with a paintbrush. Paint over the edges of the stencil, so the inside of the eye sockets and the nose and everywhere, all of the edges of the stencil. And this is just to seal it off so that paint doesn't get underneath there and we end up with a really clean line on the edge of a stencil. Don't want to leave too much on there, just a little bit. And a little bit goes a long way with this. You really don't even want to be able to see it. You want to just know that you have it pushed up against the edge of your stencil, just a teeny bit, just enough to keep a sharp line right there. And then just brush the excess off with your brush. This takes so long, I just sped it up because it is a long process. You just don't want to leave very much at all. See, I'm just leaving hardly any. Just enough to create a little barrier between my stencil and the canvas. And take a paper towel and wipe off any extra if you want to. It does dry clear, even though it looks white when it's in the container. It dries completely clear. You won't know it's there. If you put it down thin enough, then you won't have any brush marks even from it. Okay. That looks pretty good. Got a little blob of gel there. So I'm going to save the stencils. So I held on to the paper that they were stuck to. Got it. Yay. That's violet pouring paint. So it's the Master's Touch Violet, and it's mixed with Floetrol and Liquitex Varnish and Gloss Medium. I'm just spreading that around the canvas. I'm going to take my brush and brush it in gently around my stencil. At one point I screw up right here, but it's fine. Yeah, see right there, I went over my little hole in the stencil that I'm going to use to pick it up later, but that's okay. I'll show you how I fix it after this is over. Don't want to leave a bunch of paint there anyway, but I'm still going to have to fix that spot. I'm just putting the violet down over the silver and the interference enamels that we laid down. I'm just going to paint our guy in. I'm sure we get our edges with the violet. This violet dries transparent, so everything that you did on the edges, you'll be able to see to a certain degree. You'll see that at the end. I have some pictures of it dry at the end of the video. Trying to do the same crisscross pattern with my violet. I tried to use interference pink on the eyeballs and I didn't like it. It was way too light. So going back with violet. Alright, he's all painted in. Now I'm going to start picking the stencil up. I just use a pair of tweezers and just gently, try to gently, pick it up in the middle. I have a little hole there, like I said. See, there's a little spot of purple in his jaw, but that's okay. And it looks like there's a white outline right there. I just took a little bit of water on a paintbrush, rubbed that spot, and then dried it with a paper towel, and it disappeared. It looks like there's a white edge where the stencil was. That's just a little bit of gloss medium that was underneath there, and it dries completely clear. I'm going to take the skull stencil up, just loosening it a little bit until an edge pops up and I can grab it. Just slowly and gently pull it up off of the canvas. When you get to the head part, you kind of want to peel it off slowly. And there you have it. A Halloween skull. I love this. This is like my favorite thing in the last 48 hours that I have done. I'm sure I'll have a new favorite thing in the next 48 hours, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making this. So, thanks for being here and thanks for watching.